Hey, thanks for joining Late Night Football Talk. I'm your host, Nick Manzaro. Today we're going to be talking about the Pats at Browns, Bucs at Steelers, Chiefs at Bills, Cowboys at Eagles, and I'll kind of give my thoughts around the league. All right, solo tonight, no guest. So I just want to get right into it here. Let's say Pats at Browns. My thoughts on this game is kind of tricky. So I don't have much faith in the Patriots, but I also don't have much faith in the Browns here. The Pats are going to be starting Bailey Zappi. He's going to have his second start of his career. Um, I'm actually kind of a fan of the Browns in the case of Jacoby Brissett. I like him, but this is important. I don't like him versus a Belichick defense, which is what he's going to be going up against because when the Patriots kind of draft players and these scout players across the league, they pretty much they're gonna write a file on everybody. You know, like even when Brady went in there last year, they're gonna they know ins and outs of everybody. And I think also when they're doing their draft, they don't even have a low first round pick, right? But they're gonna call that player in. And most people are thinking like they have no chance to get this guy. But what they're really doing is they're calling them in just to see what they're strong at, what their weakness is, and they want to kind of just to get a file on you and kind of they want to be able to beat you. Okay, so it's all they take a very smart approach to it. So I think with Jacoby, they're gonna know, okay, he doesn't like throwing an out route or whatever the hell it might be, right? And or he doesn't like pressure in the middle like Brady, or everything that they've been able to actually talk with him about that, and they know what throws he does like, what throws he's kind of maybe has trouble with, all that kind of stuff, and they're gonna tell guys to sit on their routes in certain situations and stuff like that, and maybe Jacoby doesn't think as quick as like a Brady or a Mac Jones, and he's not so cerebral. So they might give him a defense and disguise it, and then bang, switch out of it at the last moment, and next thing you know, they're going to pick him off. So this one's kind of tricky. So I kind of feel like this is a lot like the Brady versus Belichick without like the goat nature. Um, as far as familiarity, that's what I would say. Bailey Zappi, the way I would play him is, and I really don't care who wins this game because I'm kind of, I'm in the Bucs at the moment, but you know, Bailey Zappi, he looks like he hasn't thrown down the field yet, and he looks like he's a little bit mobile. He's just game manager at the moment, and so what I would do is if I was the Browns and I would just stack the box, but the Browns at the moment are giving up. Let's see, they're giving up 354 yards a game. I mean, that's pretty intense. Now, the Patriots, on the other hand, are giving up 340 yards a game. The Browns are averaging 26 and a half points a game. Patriots are averaging 20 and a half. But the yards is a slight discrepancy. So the Patriots are averaging 350 yards a game. And the Browns are averaging 396 and a half points a game, yards a game. And so I think that's mainly their run game, right? They have a better run game, but they also have like the worst run defense in the league. The Browns can't hold anybody, and that's the Patriots' strong suit. And I kind of wonder, now that you're playing a team like the Patriots that doesn't have a strong quarterback, or someone that's not experienced because it's the second game. If I was playing him, I would stack the box as much as possible. We're gonna have two guys out, Clowney's out and Ward's out, I believe, for this game, so that's gonna be tough. Yeah, so I would stack the box and tell him to throw over deep. Aguilar had some issues last week. He's been having issues lately. The past couple weeks, really. It just seems like he can't get on the right track with Bailey Zappi. At least that's the case. If it was me, I would put Bourne out there because I think he's more of a special player. He looks like he can beat man coverage, and he's quick, and he seems to be on the. He seems to know he'll get penalties, which is kind of what he's been doing. But for the most part, I think there was arguing with Belichick last week. He knows what he's doing. So that's how I would play the Patriots offense. Now, Damian Harris is hurt, so they're basically going to be going up against Ramondre Stevenson, who's a really good runner, if you ask me. He's very elusive, can catch the ball. But Nick Chubb's on the other side for the Browns. Now, I think no matter what, they're probably going to get their carries. Now, but if for some reason Belichick drafts up a really good run defense, they could get it tight. But if the Browns somehow are able to score points, I don't see the Pats being able to match them. That's what they need to do. They need to score points really early in this game so the Pats have to throw down the field because they're going to rely on their run game. If for some reason they can't score points, I think this is just going to be like an even game. Like someone scores, someone scores. It might come down to turnovers, but the Pats are really good at turnovers. So I think they can take advantage of the turnover route because they know Jacoby Brissett. I would say they lack in linebacker, so they're going to need it in the safety with McCourty, who's played Jacoby. I mean, he's a vet, so he might be going on like his 12th or 13th year at this point. I think it was 2010, so yeah. He's taken a step back in the last couple of years, but he's still a very talented guy and cerebral. Very, very cerebral, can tackle well. I would try to use McCourty's smarts against Jacoby Brissett and somehow lead him into a bad decision or something. Their linebacking core is not good, the Pats, so they can't let them get to the they can't let them you don't want them to get to McCourty. But at the same time, maybe Adrian Wilson will be able to do something. Bentley is probably their best run stuffing linebacker. So he might be able to do something against them. As far as their offense, I think the Pats' offense is going to probably struggle in this game. I really wouldn't. If they can run the ball, they'll be okay. But if for any reason they get into a long passing situation, they might be able to do the screen game. But I would not want to go against Garrett. And I know they don't have anyone behind Bailey Zappi, so that might be kind of tough if he gets hurt or, because it seems like lately guys are dropping like flies. But for some reason, if something was to happen to Bailey Zappi, they might really be screwed in this game. Their punters, Jake Bailey, has been atrocious as of late. He needs to start showing up because if Bailey Zappi ever gets stuck on his end of the field, they gotta. You don't want to give short fields to Jacoby Brissett. You don't want them to think they're in the game. You want them to play from behind, and that would be the best in the Pats scenario. But so if I had to give a score for this game, I would probably say it's gonna be. Let me see what they're giving up per game here. Let's find this. Points per game. What is that again? So they're giving up 20. The Browns are averaging 26. Patriots are 20. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 24-20 game. And I'm going to probably say the Pats win 24-20 just because they know Brissett. I really don't like that. So I'm going to go about that. I think the Pats are going to win 24-20. Now, the keys to the game for the Browns to change that score, I would say, is they're going to have to make some turnovers. Jacoby's going to have to pick some of the Pats apart. I don't think Jacoby can take advantage of the Patriots' defenders. But say he did, because he is playing pretty efficient. They have Amari Cooper. They have that tight end, Njoku. I can't think of his name at the moment. It's somewhat close to that. But he's very athletic. Hunter Henry did get in. He did start being involved in the offense for the Patriots last week. Like I mentioned before, Aguilar is kind of hit or miss at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if they look to trade him midseason. Bourne has been getting some more snaps. They can't really afford to sit him also. He was sitting earlier in the year. Taekwon Thornton is kind of their speed guy. He just came back last week from a collarbone fracture. I know they're probably going to limit his reps because they kind of need him, but at the same time, he's a rookie and needs to get the experience. He really is too small. I think he's only 175 pounds. He's too small to really make too much contact, so they'll probably put him down the field. They don't want him getting tackled too much in the mid or going over the crossers or anything like that. So, yeah, so I'm going to say 24-20, and if the only way I see the Browns winning this is if they're just able to run at will. And I want to say he was Chubb's averaging a lot right now. I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say it's like 6 or 7 yards. I mean, he's one of the top 5 backs in the league, so it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, if he had a pretty good game. But I just don't think I think maybe when Watson comes back, they'll be a little bit better with throwing the ball. He's a little more talented. If we see the old Watson, I'm kind of curious to see that. I know he did have a another legal case kind of pop up. There's like another civil suit basically saying that he had another accuser, another massage therapist basically said that he coerced her into doing X. So we'll see. Even if maybe he doesn't even play this year, I'm not really sure how the NFL is going to go down that one. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. So yeah, I see this game going 24-20, and I kind of see the Pats winning. Unless the Browns are able to just run at will. That's pretty much it. Okay, so let's go to that game is at 1:00 on Sunday. So, and the Browns are currently 2-3, and the Patriots are 2-3. So, it's kind of an even matchup. All right, so let's go to my Bucs. Bucs are next. 1:00. 3-2 Bucs versus the 1-4 Steelers. The Steelers are my first thoughts are the Steelers are really struggling without T.J. Watt. I think they're struggling. They can't get pressure without T.J. Watt. They rely on him almost too much. I don't think they've won a game without him, to be honest with you. Right now, the Steelers are still averaging about 18.5 points per game. The Bucs are not averaging a lot. They're only at 20.5. The yards per game, the Bucs are averaging 317 yards. Steelers are averaging 278. Last week, for instance, Kenny Pickett had about like 350 yards, but he didn't have a touchdown. Pickens made some really good plays. He's not on the right page with Deontay Johnson, who's kind of their number one. So he's gonna have to do that. It was his first start as a pro last week, so maybe that has something to do with it. I would say going forward, he's gotta get more practice and kind of get the timing down with his receivers, because that's the only way they're gonna go anywhere. Their defense is really struggling. They need T.J. Watt. I think he just had his I believe his knee worked on, so he's a couple of weeks out at least, and they must have said, look, let's just come back completely healthy. So with that said, I think this week it's going to be kind of another struggle for Kenny Pickett to kind of it's not going to be easy for him. He's going against a Buck defense that will pick him off. They do get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Their defense is really their strong suit at this point. Their offense is coming along. They've had tons of injuries. But I do think in the next couple weeks, this is kind of the Brady's get right game. So I think Godwin is averaging right now, I believe, about 60 yards, 50, 60 yards a game. And he's kind of on the upward trend, coming back from that ACL injury. Mike Evans is still averaging about 80 yards a game. I know he had that one game where he was not able to play due to suspension, pretty much from the Saints Lattimore scuffle that happened. So last week, for instance, he was able to throw to a bunch of different guys. He was throwing to Scotty Miller, Godwin, Evans. Brait is going to play this week. He's going to be probably a go. I know he had he was in concussion protocol last week. And the week before that is when the injury really kind of happened. He didn't come back after halftime. Their punter Camarda's been doing really good, so he's been still pinning a lot of guys deep, even though they've had the bad offense. The Falcons last week, they're holding their opponents to. Let me get the large score here. Yeah, so they're holding their opponents to 17 points a game. The Steelers are holding them to 22. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, this is at Steelers, so there's kind of a 3-point swing for the home team. So it's going to be I imagine it's going to be loud, but it's a 1 o'clock game. If you ask me, guys aren't getting too rowdy till about probably 4. You get a 4 or a night game, it gets tremendously loud. Like I said, Kenny Pickett does not have a touchdown yet. He does have 1 pick. I bet you if I had to give a score for this game, he will have another pick. I would say maybe 2. Something's telling me he's going to have at least 2. I wouldn't be surprised if Brady has 1 as well. Maybe if the Steelers want to win, they pick Brady off twice, maybe a fumble recovery. They still have Cam Hayward in the middle of their defensive line. And the one weakness to the Bucs at this point on the offense, and something that's, besides the injuries to the receivers, one of the things that's really causing them to not perform at top tier level is that their line play is not elite yet, and not even elite. I mean, they're not even top level. They've just got 2 unexperienced guys at center and left guard, and until they're able to all, work as a cohesive unit, Leonard Fournette is still playing pretty good. But, if you can get these guys running out and, the center going sideline to sideline, clearing the way for him, and you can really just start to just dominate your opponent. And I'm not completely sold that the Bucs can do that right now. I would say Rachaad White's been coming in a lot. I think they're kind of holding Fournette back slightly just because he can be injury prone, and they kind of need him for that playoff run. The NFC is kind of weak overall right now. I would say that as well. I know we have the Eagles, which we'll talk about later. They're top tier. After that, you kind of got this group of teams that are average, above average, and you're kind of hoping by the end of the year they're all going to kind of fade into one. They're in one category. I think it's just the Eagles, maybe Dallas with the Bucs, and along with the Packers, 49ers. The Rams are disappointing this year, but kind of stuff like that. Let me get back to my score. My score is going to probably be 31-27. No. The Steelers not scoring 27. I'm going to say 31-21. They're going to score something. I wouldn't be surprised. The Bucs defense is not. Their stats say they're better than they actually are. I would not be surprised if Kenny Pickett has his first touchdown, but he will get picked off. The Bucs are having a real hard time right now. They were able to do it last week, but they're having a real hard time with scoring on the first drive. Their tackling on the defense has been iffy. They are very undisciplined with penalties, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to if the Steelers can somehow, as long as they don't create their own penalties, if they can somehow not get penalized before the Bucs, the Bucs will grab. They're definitely going to grab. They're definitely going to go off sides. They'll get their roughing the passer penalties. That's a big one right now, especially since the Tua injury. They're trying to protect the quarterbacks a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised there if the Steelers get some breaks in this game. the Buccaneers are not a disciplined team, so I imagine something like that will happen. I know it's tough for me to say, but yeah, so I'm thinking about 31, 21. I could also see 31-14, I suppose, but that's where I'm going now. I think this is going to just be an upward trend for the Bucs offense. If I had to guess, they're going to begin to hit that elite passing. I just hope for no injuries. Fitzpatrick on the Steelers defense is still super elite, and I could see him getting a pick on Brady. Maybe even a fumble recovery with Hayward. I could definitely see a lot of that. So that's where I'm going with that. Okay, so let's see. What's the next game here? Oh, this is going to be a good game. Buffalo at the Chiefs, 425. I'm definitely watching this game. I'm super stoked for it. I will be rooting for the Bills, got to be honest. I'm not a Chiefs fan. Definitely not. The Chiefs have the Bills' number at this point. The Bills did win, I believe it was Sunday night last year, but when it really matters, Kansas City seems to get it done. I think this game is very, very important, mainly for the seeding and for the playoffs. It's like 1 to 1A for who's the best team right now in the AFC. I still think the Bills are just a more talented team. With Tre'Davious White practicing this week, I think they have the chance to become just in a tier of them all alone, you know. Allen to me just has more weapons. They're just relentless, you know. It's just so hard to attack them, and before you know it, they've scored so many points. I can't. They're both gonna be there at the end of the year, you know. So I would say let's look at some of the scores for here, some of the stats for these teams. The Bills are points per game are 28.5. Believe it or not, Kansas City is averaging 32.3 points per game, so they're averaging more. Yards per game, Bills are they're averaging more yards, 412 to the Chiefs 384. But here's where I think it really matters. The Chiefs' opponents are averaging 24 points a game, and the Bills are averaging 14.5. The Chiefs' opponents are averaging 329 yards, and the Bills' opponents are averaging 234. So that's where I think it happens. If Kansas City can move down the field on the Bills, they'll probably be okay. Now, Kansas City's defense to holding back the Bills, this is where I get concerned. The Bills' offense is just insane. They just have too much talent. Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs, they got McKenzie, Khalil, I can't think of his name at the moment. They just have embarrassment of riches on offense. And Gabriel Davis last week, I think he had like two touchdowns, 140 yards, 130 yards. He's just become an elite receiver, kind of like Diggs at this point, and it all started against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they just don't have the corners to hold up with the Bills, and you could even see that against the Raiders during their last game. I didn't get to review anything last week. I had some home improvement stuff I had to do last week. So yeah, Devonte Adams, for the most part, until they rolled coverage over Devonte to have him like double covered for most of the night, he kind of had his way. If anything, Renfro got in the way and kind of stopped him from probably even catching a game-winning catch or something. So he had that sideline catch that was kind of like, if we were playing backyard football, he probably would have had that. But because we look at every little thing, did he possess it? It bobbled in his hands slightly as he one-handed grabbed before he got the second toe down. He didn't get that, but I think Sneed's the Kansas City's best corner, but besides that, they have a rookie Watson who's coming kind of like a Jack Jones for the Patriots, who I should have mentioned earlier actually. I think he's going to be like one of their elite guys, and he's their JC replacement. So I think he can kind of JC Jackson, that is. He can kind of substitute what they were getting last year with JC Jackson, kind of getting the turnovers because they need those extra possessions with short fields. And so I meant to mention him earlier. So Snead is their best cover guy, Kansas City's. And so him and their rookie Watson, who also, I believe he picked off Herbert in their game against the Chargers. And I think he has one of the out of all the guys, I think he has the only one that's like a 2-digit pass defense rating, and so it might be like 75%. I forget. But anyways, he's coming along for them. But other than those two guys, Chris Jones is really good for the defensive line. I think he's rated the best defensive player in the NFL right now. Somewhere like a 91 rating. I don't know if that's PFF or not. But so if they can get pressure on Josh Allen, they might be able to do something. But last week the Steelers couldn't get anything on the Bills. So I wonder if they're kind of building their line to be pretty stable at this point. Josh Allen is one of those quarterbacks too, where if you rush him, he's so athletic, especially with the Chiefs. I mean, he in the last couple games they faced, he's hurdling guys. He will make contact. He's not afraid. I would be worried about Josh Allen maybe getting hurt because he kind of becomes he risks it, you know. He's willing to make contact with linebackers and corners and fight for extra yards to get the first down. He has been X-rayed already this year. Hope on his hand. I hope he is just very sparingly when he goes to make those plays, but because it's great watching him every week. And I'm not a Bills fan. But I would say the Bills can win just by their embarrassment of riches and the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs want to take advantage of this, the Bills' corners they're average. So it's almost the same deal with them. But I want to see how they play Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce is the chess the big chess piece for the Kansas City Chiefs. What I noticed with the Raiders too, and in almost every game at this point, one of our guests, Joe, I'm always yelling at him, basically saying, with Kelce, I always knew how the Pats would play tight ends that were super important like this. With Kelce, he always gets a free release, and it drives me like fucking bananas because if you watch Bill Belichick play against Tony Gonzalez, for example, he would make sure that you don't get a free release. You get hit right off the line, and then, 5-10 yards, the linebacker also hits you. So the timing just has to be disrupted. But what I noticed with Kelce is, and I thought this would actually go away when Hill got traded to the Dolphins, is I thought teams would start focusing on him. Maybe it's because of Hardman, but he had four touchdowns in the Raiders game, and it's like no one's within like 10 yards. Every game, teams forget about this guy, and he takes advantage of it. I give him credit there. I'm a Gronk guy myself, but no, not that they really play the same position. Kelce to me is more of what I envisioned Hernandez kind of being, more of a move wide receiver type tight end. But Kelce, if the Bills don't have a good answer for Kelce, they're gonna pay. They don't get Tre'Davious White for a couple, probably another week or two. He just started practicing. If it was me, I thought Godwin on the Bucs came back a little early. I would say a couple weeks at least, but you never know there. They're pro athletes, so I would say 2 weeks. But if Kansas City wants to win this, they just got to keep doing what they're doing. Their run game is really strong. That's one of the things that I've noticed that they've changed from the last couple of years is they're not completely relying on just the pass. That guy, Pacheco, Pacheco and Hilaire, I think he's eventually going to start over Hilaire. That guy's awesome. I mean, he runs so hard and so fast. He's he's going to be the future of that team unless something happens to him. But Hilaire's pretty good for getting, he's so small. He gets like hidden behind the line, and then they dump it off to him. So they've kind of got a 1-2 punch going on with there. Hardman, the one thing with Hardman is he has a trouble catching. He can't, when you need an absolute play, it seems like it'll bounce off his hands. Valdez Scantling, same kind of deal. So they're kind of like the same receiver to me. Hardman might be just a little quicker. Smith-Schuster, though, is more of a possession guy, so he could really help him out. Like I said, the Bills, I want to say it was Edmonds, their linebacker, awesome. So he runs sideline to sideline, so he's pretty good. Poyer was out last week, so both their starters were out because they lost the other guy. I can't think of his name at the moment. They lost one for the year. So I would probably say if I had to give a score for this game, I'm going to go with it's going to be high scoring. It has to be. Maybe 35-42, something like that. It's going to be a shootout, and I think it might even go to overtime. I'm super pumped for this game. I think it's going to be intense. I definitely I think this should have been a night game. That's all I can say. It should have been a night game, and I bet the rating for this game is going to be insane. A lot of people are going to be checking into this game. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Our final game of the night. Before I'll just go over some scores, maybe give you some thoughts on some of the other games. But these are the games I'm pretty much going to be covering. And I'll probably be covering them on the review episode Sunday night. I believe it's going to be Sunday night. It's possible it could be Monday. But just check back with us for that. Okay. Another game that I'm really looking forward to. Cowboys versus Eagles. Okay, so my Bucs have already played the Cowboys. I'm kind of for the underdog here. I would love to see the Eagles lose. So I'm just going to be honest there. They're currently 5-0. Cowboys are 4-1. Their only loss is to week 1 with the Bucs, but that was with Dak. So I am actually a big Rush fan. I think Rush should keep this job, the quarterback job, until he loses. Don't bring Dak back. Give Dak as much time as he needs. If he needs another month, sure. Just act like you're giving him more time to heal instead of telling him, yeah, Rush has got your job for now until he loses. Now, on the flip side of that, if Rush loses against the Eagles, you just got your shot to bring Dak back in, right? So it's like, that's what I would do. I would not take Rush out until he loses. Now, Rush is not, I wouldn't say Rush is the reason that they're undefeated, but he's like the ultimate game manager right now. I mean, he's passing the ball all over the place. Brown, his favorite receiver, is looking great. They just got Gallup back. They CeeDee Lamb, who's on my fantasy team, he's still playing really good. He's actually, if you ask me, he's actually getting better because he's getting more familiar with Rush, but he's getting more end zone chances at this time. The last couple weeks at least. So let's look at some of the stats for these guys now. The Eagles are averaging crazy points a game, kind of like the Chiefs. The Eagles are averaging about 28.8 points a game. Dallas is averaging about 17.8 yards per game. This is where it's a big discrepancy. The Eagles are averaging 435 yards a game. That is crazy. I mean, that is insane. The Cowboys, they're averaging 313 points, yards per game. But the Eagles, like I said, they were averaging 28 points a game. Their opponents were only averaging 17.8. So they're scoring 10 points more than their opponent. And what that would tell me kind of is it's probably, I bet you that's skewed a little bit because they're probably scoring so much more points. And then the opponent just has to catch up. They're playing behind, they're probably giving them a bunch of room. They're playing like a lax defense at the end of the game. Just don't give up anything too insane. Um, the Dallas opponents per game, opposing yards per game is about 308, but they're getting after the quarterback. That's the one thing that I would say for this. Now, Hurts is um he's very mobile, and he's come a long way this year. Now he gets to throw to AJ Brown on top of Devonta Smith. Um, Darius Slay on the defense is still playing awesome. He'll shut down Justin Jefferson. He'll shut down probably CeeDee Lamb. So there goes my fantasy week, right? One of these, whoever he's playing, he's going to probably shut him down. He's the top guy in the league, I would say, at this moment. Next to Lattimore. Ramsey's playing like shit right now. Just he's playing awesome. As far as penalties, they're both about the same. So they're both averaging about. Dallas is averaging 27. Has 27 penalties. With Philly's 26 penalties, so they're about the same there. Some keys to the game for this, I would say, if for some reason Dallas can get to Jalen Hurts, it'll really help. But at the same time, I'm sure Rush is going to be under so much pressure because their line, while it's okay, it's gotten a little bit better with the guy who played in the Bears last year. Oh, who am I thinking? He's like 40 years old. I gotta look this up. This is gonna drive me crazy. Well, Tyler Smith is their new left tackle, but what do I gotta look up here? Left guard from the Bears. I know he played on the Bears last year. Oh, what is his name? I don't know. Anyways, the guy's like 40 years old. He's been playing for a while. You know, Philly's defensive line is still awesome. They got Cox in the middle, and that new defensive lineman they got in the draft who's runs like fucking 5 flat. With Slay in the back, I mean it's gonna be tough. I don't know if Zeke is gonna average much in this game. It's going to be really tough. They got Kelsey on their offensive line, so that might stop Parsons from kind of wreaking havoc on Hurts. At least up the middle, he's going to have some room there. But Parsons is still Parsons, so it's possible. I think he's close to. He's probably still in there for like defensive player of the year. If I had to put a score on this game, I'm going to probably say it's a low-scoring game. One of the key matchups I would say that the Cowboys need to rely on is Diggs versus A.J. Brown, which hopefully he's, guarding him a lot. Diggs is kind of stopped this year from going after his interceptions. I think he might only have 2 interceptions this year. He's kind of going for locking guys down, which I think is smart play on his. So it's smart for him because once you start getting a reputation for locking guys down, I think the money kind of comes in with that. So I would say if he can hold A.J. Brown to just a quiet night, maybe like 3 catches for 30 yards, maybe 40 yards, that would do it for him. I think they could come out with a win. They are at home. The Eagles are at home, so that's at least a 3-point swing there. I'm going to say the score is somewhere around 17-14, and I didn't go either way. I'd love to see the Cowboys take it. Something tells me they won't. Something tells me the Eagles are going to squeak out, but I'm going to say 17-14 Eagles, but I would love for this to be 14-17 Cowboy 17-14 Cowboys ahead, and that would be awesome. So that's my score for that game. So let's go to some of the other games here that are going on. I don't have much thoughts on the Commanders Bears game that went on. I think those are both just shit show teams at this point. I think Wentz is pretty much going to be done. Justin Fields is kind of disappointing me lately. I thought he was going to be a really good quarterback coming out of college. I don't watch too much college ball, but with him being in some of the premier games, I did watch a few of those highlights. Vikings Dolphins. This will tell me a lot. Are the Dolphins gonna fall off the cliff? Because if they drop another game, that'll be big for them. The Vikings could use another. They're tied for second place at least. So at 4-1, the Dolphins are at 3-2. So if they drop another one, they're gonna get closer. The Jets are on their heels at this point. So they're getting really close there. Let's see, 49ers, Falcons. I think the 49ers are going to gain another win here. They're going to be 4-2, so that'll be good. The Falcons will probably get another loss, 2-4. I really want to know what happens with the Bengals at Saints. The Saints always give the Bucs a lot of trouble, so I'd love to know how Burrow does. I think it's not good for him, only because I know how good the Saints defensive line is, and I know the Bengals offensive line has been going through troubles as of late. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Ravens at Giants. Giants are 4-1, man, and the Ravens are 3-2. But every game has been kind of a rock fight with them. So this will tell me. I believe in the Ravens. I think they're going to be there in the end. They might not. If I was to give my AFC Championship, it's going to be Bills Chiefs, as I mentioned. But the Ravens are that third team for me. The Giants are surprising me. In a way, they probably shouldn't, because Dayball's a really good coach, and he's going to be one of the only. If he can continue this pace, Belichick guys don't really work out in the NFL, but it seems like he might be. Him and O'Brien, Josh McDaniels is going through hell right now, but I expect them to turn it around, hopefully. But let's see, Jets at Packers, man. They're both 3-2. If the Jets can pull out at Packers, people are going to be turning their heads. They're going to go, wow. And it's going to be because of the Jets defense, I imagine. The Packers, they I have Watson, their rookie. He's out this game, so that actually does not bode well for them, because he's kind of their athletic wide receiver. He doesn't have many options as it is. If the Jets can pull that out, man, that's gonna be crazy. I'm rooting for him. Let's see, Jaguars at Colts. The Colts got to win that game. They really have to win that game if they want to be anywhere near the playoffs. I mean, they're 2-1. The Jaguars are 2-3. I don't think the Jaguars are. They're like a C-level team, maybe a D-level team. The Colts, to me, are like a C on the cusp of being a B, because they can beat guys when they show up. They have playmakers. When they show up, they can beat guys like the Chiefs. But when they don't, they're just like, they play down to their competition way too much. The Cardinals, to me, they're kind of a fraud team. They're 2-3 facing the Seahawks at 2-3. That's a 4:00 game on Fox. So I think they're about even. Seahawks are doing better than I thought they would be, but the Cardinals are also the Cardinals, right? So they have games where they'll just completely kick the shit out of their opponent, and then games where they go against somebody who they should be even with, have the same record as, and they're atrocious. So sometimes they're really hard to read. Let's see, the Panthers at Rams. Panthers are terrible. Maybe the Rams will get on track with this one, and they'll start putting something together, because Allen Robinson has really not been doing well for them. They really miss Odell Beckham Jr., or just another wide receiver threat in general. They should have never traded Robert Woods, if you ask me. I believe he's on Tennessee right now. But they got to get something going there. Maybe the Super Bowl hangover, they're just happy with what they won last year. I don't know what's going on with them. I imagine the Rams will win that. And let's see, Monday night, I'll kind of give a preview on that on the next show. I'll kind of hold that off. All All right, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe on YouTube. You can catch us out on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I believe we're on just about any podcast place you visit. So look us up. Please subscribe. Any video you can. It really helps us out. And thank you very much. And we'll see you after the games, and we'll see if any of my predictions are right.